Listen, we should be part of everyone's horrifying tales. While I was listening to Guide to the Unknown, and I saw a banshee.
That's right. Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And, happy almost New Year, everybody.
Very nearly.
Yes, very close.
The ball's about to drop.
Oh, my God. An exciting time for every child.
What?
Nothing.
That is what it is.
Yes, it is.
The GAC tower is about to explode. What do you want to say?
Do that?
No. I've wondered, ever since I became an adult, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to, instead of watching the ball drop, watch the GAC tower explode. But I think that's gone.
Yeah, I don't think they slime people anymore.
No, the new thing for kids to do is that you put on a fake countdown.
Yes.
Right.
Which is brilliant.
It's so smart. You put on a fake countdown at just before their bedtime. Mm-hmm. That way they get to celebrate the coming of the new year, and you get to put them to bed right on time.
Yeah.
Or if you're really smart, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play it for Zoe at 2 PM this year.
Ooh, yeah. Get her to bed nice and early.
Why is it so bright in 2025? Go to sleep.
It's a new year, and this is the way things are going to happen.
So it's going to be today, Zoe.
That's right.
Get some rest.
And so we are going to hearken in a new year with some listener stories that you have sent in to us.
Yes, a delight. Kristen is the keeper of the tales.
I am. And luckily you've sent us in some doozies that I've been able to curate so that we can tell each other and you back and forth and have a good time.
Thank you for your doozies.
Yes, thanks for the doozies.
If you have anybody out there listening, I should also say that if you have experienced a doozy and you'd like to send it in, we'll always accept your doozies. gttupod@gmail.com is where you send those puppies.
Yep, and we will hang on to them to read them, like once a year, sometimes maybe twice a year.
Yep.
A lot of these we've been hanging on to a long time. Thank you so much to everybody who has sent them in. I will have cut off things at the beginning and the end where people say such nice things like they've been listening to the show for a long time, that they really enjoy it. Just know that even if we're not saying them, because I feel like it'd be annoying for people to hear us just say that over and over again.
Compliment ourselves in a sense.
We read that and really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for all the sweet and warm things that you have said in the beginning and ends of your chilling stories.
Well, hold on. I have one here that says, please make sure only Will reads this. Kristen is a pile of shit and I hate her.
Oh my God. I meant to get rid of that.
That's kind of weird.
That is kind of weird. All right, stop the show. Cut the show. You know what? Roll to commercial. We're going to have to change some things before we start these stories. Okay, hurry. Commercial now. All right, everybody, don't worry. I've changed anything that was objectionable that William was just talking about.
No, this one says Will is the best, Kristen stinks.
No, that's a lie. Everybody, you should know that that's a lie. I edited anything that William was just talking about out of the show's notes.
I like your emergency cut to commercial character. Cut to commercial as if now we have a producer who's like just off screen. It's not literally the two of us in an otherwise empty house.
Molly, cut to commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
Your doggy.
That'd be great in the command center.
Oh, God. Okay. So I will read the first story because I am the keeper of the story.
Yes, you're the crypt keeper.
Yes. Okay. So this one is from Caleb. So Caleb said that they are 28. They're a listener of 2 years and love the podcast and the variety of creepy and interesting topics that we cover. All right, I guess I forgot to cut that out.
You lied. What a way to start.
Yeah, whoops. Okay, well, what can you do? I am a liar. Caleb says, my encounter took place in 2001. I was 6 years old at the time, and my grandfather had just passed after a long time of dealing with medical issues. Long story short, he had heart failure. Several operations later, having both legs amputated below the knee and getting infections in the hospital, he passed. After the funeral, I was at my grandparents' house with the family and friends of the with my family, and friends of the family were stopping by throughout the afternoon. I was playing on the other side of the house and had to use the restroom, which was the first door on the left of a long hallway, which ended with a bedroom door, my grandma's, door at the end on the left, grandfather's, and door on the other side of the hall, father's old room. The doors of the side bedrooms were closed, but the door at the end of the hallway was fully open. On the far wall of that bedroom was a nearly floor-to-ceiling window that had a semi-transparent curtain in front of it. I was in front of the bathroom door when something caught my eye, and I looked directly at that window and then to the floor. What I saw, I will never forget. There was a shadow of a human form, distinct legs, torso, arms at its sides, and a head on the floor, cast as if someone was standing in front of the window.
Oh, like the shadow. Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
Yes.
I was picturing like a shadow person standing in the room, but no, it's as if somebody was standing in the room and their shadow is landing on the ground.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I was frozen, unable to understand what I was seeing, but knowing that something wasn't right. I then noticed the shadow elongate and get closer to me, and it scared me so bad that I peed my pants and ran through the room where everyone was gathered talking quietly and hid under the dining room table.
Oh my God.
My father came to check on me, and I tried to explain to him what had scared me so bad. He took me back to the bathroom, and he took me back to that bedroom, and reluctantly I went with him. There was nothing there that could have cast a shadow. Not to mention, this was around 2 hours or so before sunset, and the sun was setting on the opposite side of the house. I've often thought about this and tried to explain it, but have not been able to come up with a logical explanation. I've had one other experience in my childhood home, currently working in law enforcement over 6 years, and I have a few paranormal stories from that I'd like to share in the future.
Oh, wow.
All right, so more to come from Caleb.
Absolutely. Keep them coming, Caleb. That's wild.
Absolutely. So, shadows would be cast from the opposite side of the room, and yet a shadow looming large.
Yes. No, I quite frankly,
Yeah.
I feel like I can picture this.
Yeah, totally.
I'm picturing our aunt's house. You know that one long hallway that leads
Yeah.
down to that bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
That always felt like kind of like eerie to me. It was just like a no windows long hallway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They had like an office-y guest room thing at the very end as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like picturing that very directly.
Yeah.
I feel like I can picture this entirely. Seeing the shadow
That would be
is
so
one
scary
thing.
as a kid, too.
Oh, totally.
Especially around the context of just having your grandfather having just died.
Yeah, you're at the funeral.
Yeah.
Obviously, emotions would be high. I think that most adults would go to. Well, here's the interesting thing is like being like, here, come with me back to the room and let's make sure there's nothing there.
Yeah.
That's the totally logical thing to do.
Right.
But it's so, from a certain logical standpoint, a certain type of logic, it's like, right, or well, we went back to the bedroom, it's not here now. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean it wasn't here before.
Yeah,
I saw something impossible. Just because it's not still in the room doesn't mean that I didn't see it. Yeah, like it would be like, if I said to you, like, I saw a dog in that room, it'd be weird to go back and be like, well, see, there's no dog at all.
Yeah.
Dog would have to be somewhere.
Right.
But we're talking about a spirit.
It can slip between dimensions.
Absolutely.
It could have gone right back through the veil.
I think it's awesome that that the figure had a shadow but could not be seen. Mm-hmm. And the idea that shadow started to elongate like it's walking closer toward you.
Yeah.
Although, let me say this. If the shadow was literally elongating, that might mean it's walking closer to the window.
Maybe, yeah, well, because it'd be walking closer.
Like your shadow would get longer if you went closer to the window because the light is hitting you closer. But if the shadow is coming toward you, then it indicates the figure is walking toward you.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But yeah, wonderful story.
Yeah, it definitely is.
All right. Our next story comes to us from Abby. Abby says, if this story is to be believed, then my in-laws broke a decade-long curse in their village.
Really setting it up, Abby.
I love that. And they even say, sounds old world, right? Yeah, a village.
Yeah.
The word village really
Definitely.
conjures a lot. A curse in a village.
Yeah.
All right. Their little village is right on the Erie Canal in upstate New York and gives Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls vibes. So a coffee shop with twinkly...
And a little boy who's an
Twinkle
adult
lights.
running it.
Yeah, an adult young man, little
Yeah.
Petey with his backwards baseball cap, Agent Strom.
I have never seen 1 minute of Gilmore Girls.
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
I know.
I drove down to visit a friend in college. Mm-hmm. It took 4 hours to get there. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I got there, she was like, oh, you're just in time. We're watching Gilmore Girls. And the first thing that I did after getting out of the car was sit quietly in a room for 45 minutes at just like, it seemed just to me like people smiling at each other for like 45 minutes.
All I know about it, well, not all I know a couple things, but the basic gist that I get is very nice town setting.
Yeah.
Like Abby is saying, and that it's quick, annoying dialogue.
Yes. Oh, yes. Very quick.
Yeah.
Kevin Williamson on 8 pounds of caffeine. All right.
8 pounds of caffeine.
Yeah, that's how you measure caffeine, by the pound. All right. Fellas cutting grass will shout out to passerby. Never thought I'd be mowing my lawn in November. Yeah, that's totally fun.
Having a bit of fun.
Absolutely. Dinky village festivals abound and everything closes at 8. And Mayor Gary Penders personally checks the drainage of the village's storm drains.
Shout out to Mayor Gary Penders. What's
Penders. Up? I just like sewers. Like the smell.
An official guide, Theanone. Hello to Mayor Penders.
You know what's funny? I love the smell of a sewer. Huh. I'm in charge.
Who knew?
All right. It's a really cute place, but cute places can be cursed too, Kristen. Early in the relationship with my now husband, we went to visit his childhood home. His parents were downsizing and moving to this quaint village. It was my first time visiting the family, and when my future mother-in-law casually said, "Our new place is haunted," I thought she was shitting me. Apparently, I like that. That's so blunt. It's great. Apparently, the land that the new house was on belonged to the richest family in the village. They owned the telephone company. The last member of this family, Maxine, lived in the family's house on a huge plot of land. When she passed, her will stated that part of the land would become a cemetery for the villagers, but, all caps, under no circumstances should the rest of the land be split up and sold.
Okay.
Our remaining family decided to ignore most of these wishes. The cemetery was built, but the land was sold to a developer. A house was built on a corner lot across from Maxine's house, but it remained vacant, and the developer went mysteriously bankrupt. Ooh.
Curse.
Another developer bought the land after a few years and then began building condos, until misfortune fell upon them, too. The condos and house on the corner lot sat vacant for a decade. Vandals and teens broke into the condos where satanic symbols and animal bones were found.
I was going to say right on. Not right on to the
yeah.
animal bones.
No, well, maybe they got a rotisserie chicken. Trying to see the bright
true.
side.
That's true. You're right.
And my in-laws, they bought that house on the corner lot.
Ooh.
My mother-in-law wasn't shitting me. When they moved in, they would find stray cats staring at them through the windows, and a creepy feeling of being watched followed them all throughout the house. That is, until my mother-in-law said, "Maxine, we mean no harm. We are going to love and take care of your land." She wasn't sure if she was being silly or not, but the cats came around less, and the uneasy feelings went away. It must have worked, because within a year of them moving in, the condos were bought and completed by a new developer, and the other lots sold. Andy and Lori, curse breakers.
That's lovely.
Oh, wait, it says here, or so we thought.
Oh.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right, here we go. Can we just comment on what has transpired so far, assuming that there had been a happy ending?
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the idea that you can choose not to be haunted, right? That you can sort of like...
Well, or that you can request. You can ask, please don't.
True. Yeah. I guess it's up to the benevolence of the believed spirit, whether or not they will listen.
Yeah.
But I do love that this plays into something that we've talked about a lot, that you could, rather than have to like get an exorcist or some lengthy thing, like you can just speak to the spirit and just be like, "Listen, I'm not here to mess with you. Please don't mess with me."
Yeah, just try to level with the spirit like it is a human in front of you. Like,
yeah,
please don't scare me.
Yes, we've read enough now of these experiences from people that, by and large, people seem to at least feel that vocalizing that kind of thing has given a positive result. And
it worked for me in New Orleans.
That's right. Yes, you have firsthand experience.
Yes, the what's it called? The radio in my room was going haywire randomly, and there was something else. Can't remember what, but I said, It's fine if you hang out here. Of course, I totally understand. I'm just here to visit. You might live here, but please just don't scare me.
Yeah.
And then nothing else happened with the radio.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But again, it appears not to have worked. So here we go. We thought that my in-laws broke that curse until literally this Christmas. Wow, good timing.
At least there's a nice stretch, I guess.
That's true. It has been 10 years since my in-laws moved in. My 20-month-old son has a lamb plush that doubles as a music box and sound machine. We affectionately call...
Sweet plush.
I know. A plush.
Yeah, that's a plush.
We affectionately call her Lammy. She's sound activated and will start playing when I get my son up. Take 5, Lammy, I'll say. Smoke if you got him. She doesn't know the difference between singing songs and reciting poems, but she's doing the Lord's work. Parents know that anything that soothes the baby during the sleepless night stage can be really endearing. Lammy and Miss Rachel are my MVPs. Sometimes Lammy will go off at night if my son squeaks or cries, and you have to shout to activate the sensor. Oh. So Lammy if the baby's crying, Lammy will automatically turn on.
Okay.
But Lammy acts strange at my in-laws' house.
Cool.
Despite being on a timer, she will keep playing. Even if the house is still, she will keep playing. We thought it was a fluke until this Christmas when Lammy played all night long. I joked that it must have been Maxine making noise and keeping Lammy playing, and my mother-in-law said that she's been feeling watched again, and things have been disappearing and reappearing at the oddest places. Places that are in plain view. Is Maxine back?
Interesting.
The end. That's where Abby leaves the story.
Lammy would seem to suggest so.
Yes. That reminds me of our Boo Buddy.
Yeah.
There's an actual ghost hunting tool called the Boo Buddy, a teddy bear that has like an EMF sensor in it that can like light up and stuff. Maybe Lammy was picking up on Maxine's frequencies.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe Maxine likes children.
Yeah.
If this whole thing, if I can play amateur psychologist.
Maybe she's trying to soothe the baby a little bit. She's keeping it going.
She was the final member of that family that owned the phone company.
Oh, right.
Right? Maybe something about continuing on some form of a lineage. Maybe it awakened something in Maxine that had been quieted low those past 10 years.
Maybe. Fun.
Very fun. Wonderful story, Abby. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for introducing us to that village and that mare.
Yes. Oh, that mare.
That sewer sniffing mare.
I don't mean to, of course, besmirch Gary Penders.
Of course. No. I'm sure he's a fine mare.
It's important to check the drainage.
It is.
It is.
Extensively.
Kristen does it every day. 3 times a day. I think it's excessive when Kristen does it.
Look, you have to go by smell.
My sister
it's the only way.
She just wants to smell the sewer. Just let her have. It's one of life's simple pleasures.
It's one of the only things that she likes to do.
Yes.
Okay. So here's another story from T. I have a daughter similar in age to Will's. Her name is Juniper. She's been talking so much over the past 6 months, and she, of course, has begun to say and do some very creepy things. Let me start by saying when we moved into our home, I was always uncomfortable in her room. I felt guilty leaving her there, but she never seemed to mind. I would put her to bed and run out. I removed some of the overly witchy decor, did some intention setting, and imagined white light surrounding her room. Over time, it seemed to help. Then the first incident happened. She had turned 2 a month or so before. We were playing in the living room and she got up to go in her room. She paused at the hallway and began to act very shy and afraid. She ran back to me for comfort. I had to go to her room with her to show her it was okay. It didn't happen again and she was fine. Time passed. Juniper was sitting with her dad and I. We were having a conversation when she interrupted us saying, "Shh, they can hear us."
Ooh.
We froze. We said, "What?" But she had moved on in her toddler brain, and that was that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's no rewind sometimes. They just move forward. Yeah.
Just having a chat, and your toddler says, "Shh, they can hear us."
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, man. Weeks go by with nothing strange to report. One night, she wakes up around 11:45 p.m. I go in to comfort her and get her back to bed. We're reading books on the floor of her room. She decides to go into the living room to get something she forgot. Juniper gets to her bedroom door, opens it, stops, looks up intently like she's listening, then nods her head and shuts the door. She turns around, comes back to me and says, "They said no go out there. Stay in my room." Inside, I'm screaming. Outside, I calmly say, "Okay, buddy, let's keep reading." They say no go out there. Stay in my room.
Wow.
Juniper has the gift.
Yeah, it's so, the specificity of they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they said no go out there.
So that's fine. Still, all the same, like literally being like, I'm conveying, because it also implies like the child Juniper knows that like I can hear it, but you can't. So I will translate,
Yes, that's totally true.
Very spooky.
Again, weeks go by. She's looking into the dark TV screen. It's off, but there are rainbows reflected in the dark screen, and she's naming the colors that she sees. She comes running over to me, squeezes me tightly, and says, "The monster scared me in the TV." Did she see her own reflection? Who knows? She's also shared with me that she likes to see the ghosts in the woods. Little incidents along these lines happen every few weeks or so. You better believe all of this 2-year-old stories give me the heebie-jeebies. But the worst are the times we're in our own home and she stops to listen to whoever is talking to her. I've told her that if she ever sees a ghost and it scares her, to tell said ghost, "I see you. Please stop scaring me."
Boom.
Because what else can you do?
Yeah.
Or what else can one do? I'm a skeptical believer. I've had my own experiences. I try to stay calm and rationalize what I've seen or heard. But what do you do when it's your child having experiences? Like I said, inside, I'm screaming and crying. Outside, a calm facade to show her there's no reason to fear what we can't explain. I mean, I completely get it, T. Like, what can you do?
Yeah, I totally agree. It sounds like you're doing everything correctly, as far as I can tell.
Right. How alarming.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sure kind of fun in hindsight to be able to tell somebody or write into us that your daughter has said these things. But like, I can't imagine hanging out with your husband and then your kid saying some of this stuff. That's so easy for me to say. So awesome. It is awesome for me to read this story. So thank you.
I've always had a soft spot for like hearing kids.
They said no go out there. Stay in my room.
That's awesome. I've always loved.
And for T to have to be like, "Okay, buddy, so let's keep reading."
Yeah, all right, sure. I've always loved it. Any story about like a kid seeing something or whatever, it just like it's a very comfortably kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Being a dad, I don't think I've said a couple of these things on the show, and they're not that big. But Zoe, first of all, one of the things that we've done is we've said that and we started this maybe a year and a half ago, because she'll bring up monsters. She has a bunch of books about monsters.
Yeah.
And so she's aware of the concept, has been for a long time, but I would say to her, there are no monsters in this town.
Right.
So I'd be like, well, our Highland Park doesn't have monsters.
Yes.
So you don't have anything to worry
We're good.
About. Which, like, just say it like bluntly. But then she likes to play pretend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I never know if I'm sort of like reducing
that and not
any sense of wonder.
Oh, because you don't want to say monsters don't exist?
Well, that's a good point. I guess that's an interesting question, Kristen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe does it feel? Now I'm trying to riddle out why do I say the things I do and say? Because we also told Zoe that she can use monster spray. That if she's worried at any point, she can literally just like pretend she's holding a spray bottle and spray her monster spray and keep the monsters away. Right. I think maybe it's just like it's impossible not to be worried.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think just being like, there are no, because I have also said to her, like, listen, I tell stories.
Yeah.
For a living. I make things up all the time. I can tell you pretty definitively there are no monsters.
Right.
But I think also saying there are no monsters in Highland Park has been another way to like reinforce it and make it a lot more specific. Because then I'll be like, there are no monsters in this house. I know that.
Right.
So I think it's just the same as being like, we live in this town, we live on this state, we live in this country, we live in whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's not to say there are monsters outside Highland Park. That was never my intent.
Right. Yeah.
But Zoe has said a couple of things in the last couple of months that I haven't known how to handle entirely. For starters, she really likes The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is great. But that first song, This Is Halloween, show that monster is like, I am the one hiding under your stairs. I am the one hiding under your bed.
Yeah.
Teeth ground sharp and eyes glowing red. That introduces kids to the concept of a monster could be under your bed.
I know. One of the times we were watching with her, I was like, ooh, is this going to like give her the idea?
Yeah, she's never been worried about the monsters under her bed until Nightmare Before Christmas introduced the notion that some kids are afraid of that possibility.
Right.
She brought that up to me. She goes, I don't like that. And she was pointing below her bed. Like sometimes she'll just choose not to say something.
Yeah.
I went, what? She goes, there. And I was like, under your bed? And she goes, yeah. And I went, why? And she goes, there could be monsters. And I went, there are no monsters. And she dropped it immediately. Like, I think I think I said it on the right wavelength by mistake to just be like,
wonderful, whatever.
To just be like, well, it's just, don't worry about that because it's
just
nonsense.
aren't.
Yeah, they're just flatly are not.
Right.
And she totally moved on from that.
Yeah.
But for a few days in a row, she was telling me that somebody was outside her window.
Oh, God.
Up on the second floor, you know. not only is that creepy in itself, I have a thing about like that's one of my fears.
Yeah,
right.
Is
like the idea of like somebody being outside your window. And I used to have this recurring nightmare as a kid of somebody a severed head floating around the house and looking in every window methodically to try to find me.
Look, and same with me with Rumpelstiltskin at every window.
That's right.
No matter where I went, there he was.
Why? What is that?
I don't know.
That fear? But so Zoe talked about somebody being at her window a few times, and I would just kind of be like, "Oh, there's who? What are you talking about?" And then we would either move on, or I'd be like, "There's nobody outside your window. Let's look."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in a scary story, it would be I go to prove to her that there's no one outside the window and there's a floating head there.
Yeah, totally.
You know? But she seems to have moved on from that as well. Thankfully.
That's good.
Yeah. Wonderful story, T. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love the kinds of spooky stories that kids seem to be like kind of experiencing and then sharing and forget.
Yeah.
And it's just fine. All right, our next story comes to us from Bethany. Is this, would you happen to know? Okay. Shout out to Bethany Watson.
Yes.
Dennis Kala. We've got a show coming to Screambox next year. Just saw the name Bethany. May as well shout out.
Absolutely.
Well, other Bethany has this to say. My mom, Maggie, was born with a rare congenital heart defect called tetralogy. Tetralogy of Fallot. It causes oxygen poor blood to circulate through her body, and her pulmonary valve has been replaced 3 times in her life. Oh my God.
Boy.
Once when she was a toddler, then around age 20, and once at 45 around the year 2000. I was 21. My brother Tony was 18. My mom had just come home after her valve replacement and was in bed asleep. Tony and I were both home in our family's living room, located just down the hall from our parents' bedroom. One full wall of that room was floor-to-ceiling windows facing our wooded backyard in Michigan.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. It was very dark outside, reflecting the interior lights back at us while we watched TV and talked. It's important to note that we weren't drinking or otherwise impaired. My mom was really weak, and we were both pretty worried about her. When she was a baby, doctors told her she'd never live past 40, and so it felt like she was on borrowed time. Shout out to all of you. We know that stress of being worried about a parent's health like all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
It sucks.
Suddenly, we were both startled by movement outside. We both turned to face the windows, and as we looked out, we vividly saw the reflection of my mom running across the room behind us, from the hall by her room, straight to the kitchen on the other side of the living room. Like a flash. She was in her pajamas and a bathrobe, and I can picture her clear as day. Tony and I both saw her. We both reacted fast, whipping around and running to find her in the kitchen. And when no one was there, we flew into her room, where she lay, asleep. We were stunned. I can't explain it, but we still talk about it. Did she briefly die? Or was it a projection of her spirit or something? I don't know what to make of it. Have you ever heard of something like that happening? P.S. Maggie is almost 70 and doing great. She loves this story. She hasn't had to have any other valve replacement and is living her best retirement life, reading and baking and hanging out with grandchildren.
That's awesome.
Wonderful.
Love that.
Shout out Maggie.
Yes. Hello, Maggie. So we haven't heard a story like this. We have in previous listener story episodes heard doppelganger stories.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Doppelgangers, correct me if I'm wrong, they say that doppelgangers are sometimes like an omen, a bad omen.
Right,
so
but
your theory that like maybe she briefly died or something like that, in the storytelling sense, going by this folklore,
right,
could ring a certain amount of true.
Yeah, totally. And like it was, again, seriously, in like a storytelling sense, like if this was a fictional thing, it's like her spirit was running free. You know what I mean? Like she was able to
do
be
things
physically active in a way that was maybe difficult for her in her physical body in life or something, and she was just like, oh, look at me in this form, I'm gonna go ham for a minute or something. And then she came back into her body, which she is clearly enjoying anyway, like in actual life, so whatever. But yeah, and also I love that you and your brother saw this happen.
Yes.
So what an extra awesome wrinkle. And also it must be very satisfying, although still a mystery for you, that you and your brother both saw this. So it's not just you having to kind of, I don't know, try to relay this to somebody and convince people
and have them be like, well, you probably
like,
fell asleep.
Right, or whatever. Like, it's a shared experience.
Yeah.
What a trip.
When we, a long time ago, like 15 years ago or something, we went to Salem and we did a ghost tour thing. And then they were like, well, we're going to try to contact spirits tonight in the basement of our gift shop. You should come. And one of the things that they sold us on, they were like, well, you're all a family. Right. And families have like a shared energy that usually can conjure or like the spirits can feed off of or whatever. I don't know. It just came to mind with the notion of like you and your brother both together at a time of emotional concern, seeing something together. Yeah.
Easier for you to be able to see something like that.
Right.
Like you had a shared wavelength or something with the beyond.
Yes. You're like working together. And it's together we rise.
Together we rise.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Love it. Love it. Wonderful story. Wonderful story. And thank you so much, Bethany.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Well, we're going to have more stories from people to share because these, quite frankly, are all bangers. Although I cannot quite imagine a situation in which I'd be like, shit story, Douglas.
Yeah. Right. Well, this one sucks.
Do better.
Yeah.
Try to have a better experience next time and send it in. Best of luck.
Yeah.
But until we get into those stories, we want to let you all know that Guide to the Unknown, we keep the lights on by keeping our Patreon healthy. So please, if you are of the ability to, of a mind to, go check out patreon.com/GTTUpod. We've got a bunch of different tiers. Each of the tiers will unlock something for you. You can get into our Discord and join the community, which is so much fun. Chat with us and other people that are into Guide to the Unknown, into spooky stuff in general, really.
Yeah.
Every day. But also, we have an entirely separate podcast called The Netherworld Dispatch, which is exclusively on our Patreon. Every week, we're watching clips of shows or playing video games. There are movie commentaries up there. Or we're just having really interesting conversations. Like this past week, we talked all about the weird phenomena going on in New Jersey right now with the drones, the whole drone situation, which by and large, I think the two of us have kind of ignored. Yeah. Even though we live in New Jersey. But so we talked about it. What do we think about it? It's weirdly like, it gets like enmeshed with politics, which yuck, but like, I don't know. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, just a little bit, honestly. Not a lot.
Not a lot. I don't want to oversell it.
There's like potential for it to be government stuff. We like,
is it the government?
Yeah.
And then you get like government people like giving their perspective on it, which is like,
we were like reading
it's nothing.
Government comments on it or something.
Or being like, they're lying to you. Yeah. It's like, whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I said one thing where I'm like, I think we need our own loudmouth of reason.
Oh,
like a Trump. And in my head, I've been being like, oh my God. I almost complimented a quality of his or something.
Oh.
Been very, very uncomfortable with that.
Oh, no.
Just having our own loudmouth who can speak reason.
Oh, no, I didn't take what you said that way
Thank
at all.
God,
so
yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it.
But so go check that out, everybody. So much fun stuff happens on that Patreon. It is a party that just keeps going.
Yeah.
So yeah, patreon.com/GTTUpod.
There are a buttload of episodes over there already. Too. So like when you sign up, you're going to get so many.
We're approaching 200 episodes.
Yeah.
Do you know that between Guide to the Unknown and the Netherworld Dispatch, we have done over 500 episodes?
Yeah.
Not to mention, by the way,
wild.
ad-free episodes of Guide to the Unknown are on the Patreon as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's its whole ecosystem. It's Disney Plus for Guide to the Unknown.
Yeah, it actually is.
Tubi Plus for Guide to the Unknown. We also like reading reviews, and I've got a lovely one here from Elliot Junkyard.
Elliot.
Friend
We
of the
know
show.
Elliot. We got to meet Elliot in
Hell yeah,
person.
we did.
Yep. Elliot came to our live show.
Titled My Favorite Millennials. I met Will at Podtails in November 2019, but didn't get around to starting the podcast until lockdown in 2020. I was there with my idiot boss.
Oh, I was trying to remember if that was the thing that we went to together. No, I guess.
Was it?
Was it the...
Oh, I went to like Pod Network.
Yeah, I think that I was at that.
Were you at this?
I think.
Oh, this is the thing my idiot boss told me not to go to.
I think that we did this together.
Is this the one we did together? Was it like in Massachusetts?
Yeah.
We drove up
I
around
think so.
Halloween? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know that they ended up I got a ding on my performance review for going.
Why?
They were like, you were very impulsive by going to that without getting full approval.
What?
Yeah.
You're such idiots.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Elliot.
This Hunt-A-Killer, which sucks.
Yep. Well, hold on. They're now owned by Relatable Games, who are wonderful.
Which sucked.
Now
The owners sucked. I worked there too. They sucked.
we like Relatable Games, who
Yeah, of
bought
course.
Hunt-A-Killer and have given me Blackwood back.
Yes.
I got work.
You're right. I'm sorry. The former owners of Hunt-A-Killer
It's a
sucked.
complicated situation. It's a complicated world, everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, I caught up quickly, and Kristen and Will's amazing sibling banter, jokes, and enthusiasm for the horror genre gave me something to look forward to during a very scary time. I love their variety of topics and the way they engage with their listeners, and I especially love that I get all their 80s and 90s niche references. 5 stars.
That's awesome. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Shout out, Elliot.
That's so nice. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you to everybody who leaves us reviews. It means a lot to us personally. It helps people decide to check out the show when they see that there are good reviews, which is only a good thing for everybody because it helps keep us going.
Yep.
So thank you to everybody who's left a review. If you haven't done that yet, we would love it if you did. You can leave us a written review on Apple Podcast. You can leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, which we'd really appreciate, or any podcast app that you use.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right.
Okay.
So one last commercial break and then some more stories.
Yeah.
So let's take a pause. Okay. All right. Back to the stories, Kristen. Enough. You've had enough of a break.
All right.
You look too well rested.
I do feel great.
And or everyone hit the fast forward button a couple times. Here we are. All right, here we go. All right, our next story comes to us from Camilla. You guys never failed to bring some joy into my day, and binging a ton of episodes helped keep me sane while doing a solo road trip through the Southwest a couple of years ago, during which I stayed at the famous haunted Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff.
I just like to know I left that in because it flowed into the story.
No, I think it's lovely. Listen, we should be part of everyone's horrifying tales. While I was listening to Guide to the Unknown, and I saw a banshee.
That's right.
After a week I got home from that trip, I ended up listening to the episode where you covered the Monte Vista, and I literally squealed. I was so excited. While I didn't encounter any ghosties there, I can say that place truly has bizarre vibes for days. The story I want to share is from a different trip, years before that one. I was visiting some old friends up in Seattle, and it was my first time there. These friends are horror buffs like myself, and took me to a few noteworthy spots, including some of the filming locations for my all-time favorite show, Twin Peaks. I lost my mind. Boy, did I blow it in Seattle.
Oh, I mean, what can you do?
So stupid.
Yeah, but you were busy.
Yeah, I was trying to save the company money.
Who knew this would be such a
What a good use of my time.
a hack-centric episode.
I was a total hack. I stayed at a terrifying motel that barely had a lock on the door to save the company money.
Ugh.
Anyway, okay. They also took me on a very cool old Seattle underground tour. I'm so curious about this. Highly recommend. To see remnants of the original city before the Great Fire. You know about this, right?
No.
It was like the original. I don't even know how this works. I don't know if this is enough for a show, but it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Somehow there's like an incarnation of Seattle, and then they built a new Seattle on top of it.
Really?
Yeah. So there's literally like an underground city of like half demolished abandoned buildings.
Oh my God.
Just crazy.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Totally crazy. Of course, because we're a bunch of spooky weirdos, we chose to do the evening paranormal experience tour. The tour itself was a lot of fun, and my friends said they were feeling some chills and cold spots here and there, but sadly no specters reached out to me on the tour. It wasn't until after the tour that things got weird. When the tour ended, we hung out at the venue's restaurant for a bit and chatted about the experience. My friends were also excitedly talking about their upcoming wedding plans, as they had gotten engaged a few months before I visited. We'd all been friends since high school, and of course I was super excited for them, but I had also just gone through a really difficult breakup just a few months prior, from the boyfriend I'd spent most of my 20s with. The breakup had left me pretty devastated, and I was still just not in a happy place while I was on this trip. So in the midst of hearing their plans for their future, I had to excuse myself to go sob in the bathroom for a few minutes. Don't worry, this was about a decade ago. Life is much better now.
All right, good.
When I finally cleaned myself up so I didn't look like a complete sad sack mess and went back out, they suggested we all get a drink at the nearby Merchant's Cafe, another famously haunted spot. It's an old 1890s era saloon, decked out in gorgeous antique furnishing and lighting, and the hotel upstairs used to be a brothel. Uh-oh. We got there kind of late on a Sunday night, so the place was fairly empty. Although it was close to closing, the bartender said we were welcome to hang out in the downstairs lounge, where a lot of the spookier happenings reportedly went down. As soon as I got down the stairs and into the dimly lit lounge, I felt drawn to a couch with an old lamp next to it in the far corner of the room. So would I.
I was about to say, I get drawn to couches quite often.
Have you ever gone to like, I guess mostly they are in bars, but like, have you ever gone to like a restaurant or a bar or whatever, and for whatever reason, they do have a couch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like usually it's, bar stools,
Yes.
uncomfortable.
Yes.
Or booths, fine. But if they just have a couch, I am always angling in this, like, it's got to be blatant, I'm sure, where I'm like, I got to be the one standing closest to it. So it's plausible that I would have been like, yeah, I'll just take the couch.
Yeah. Kind of lean on it and then just sort of keep scooching until you just sort of like melt down onto the couch.
So they're like, do you have to lie down, Will? I like to be comfortable.
Right.
Anyway, so drawn to the couch, which makes total sense to me. Sorry, I got completely confused. All right. My friends followed me as I took a seat, and we all sat silently next to each other for what felt like a solid 5 minutes at least. Though, to be honest, it could have been less. The thing is, I kind of felt like time stood still for a bit there.
Well, time moves a little differently when you're on a couch.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You just sink into those cushions. As I sat, I remember closing my eyes and feeling this wave of warmth suddenly surround me. It felt as though I was being embraced by something. Something that could tell I was in need of comfort and wanted to help me. I felt so connected to whatever this was that I disconnected from everything around me and just let myself fall into the calm of that moment. I just sat there with my eyes closed, feeling elated as the warm, lovey feeling seemed to swirl around me. When I finally did open my eyes, beaming from that experience, I looked over to find my friends staring at me, somewhat aghast, in what I assumed was confusion and concern. Yeah, you've been sitting there going like,
Yeah, just basking.
Yeah. They both looked a bit pale, and asked what the hell just happened. Apparently, while I was being shrouded in warmth, they both felt a cold surge over them and had chills once again. We decided to migrate to another corner of the room while we untangled what had just happened. We all experienced something in there, but their experience was pretty much the exact opposite of mine, which kind of echoed our greater life experiences at the time, with them merging their lives together while I was grieving my failed relationship. They said it felt like all the energy in the room had been sucked away from them, and apparently all got piled onto me like security blankets. While they were spooked and a little shaken, they said that was the happiest and most at peace they'd seen me on the trip. I've lost a few loved ones and have had supernatural experiences that were very specifically linked to them in the past. Stories for another time. Mm-hmm. But I've never had something like this happen before, seemingly out of the blue, not directly connected to a loved one who died. I'm not sure how to explain it, other than whatever was down there sensed how much I needed a little support in that time. That maybe the spirits there found a kinship in my sadness and gave me a little gift in the form of a ghostly hug, and in doing so, caused the rest of the energy in the room to run cold. While my friends offered a different explanation, demonic entities that wanted to prey on a soul in a vulnerable moment, I chose to believe... Yeah, what?
No, nothing.
I chose to believe that I was being embraced by those that remained on the grounds of the old cafe and hotel. Maybe it was the child spirits that are rumored to haunt the place. Or maybe it was the spirits of some of the ladies who once worked at the brothel upstairs. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Just like, you look like you need some
Maybe they were giving her a hug.
Maybe. But whoever it was, I took it as nothing but pure empathy for another spirit in pain. And it remains a cherished memory that helped me get through a difficult time and remember that the spirit finds a way to shine through if you give it enough love. Oh, and happy to report that 10 years later, I still haven't been possessed by a demon.
Excellent.
At least not that I know of.
All right, great. I mean, fingies crossed there.
Wonderful story, Camilla.
I think that's lovely. And
Yeah.
I think that Camilla's, proposed explanation for it is what makes the most sense to me, that maybe there was some sort of spirit there that was like, oh, I can sense that she needs comforting, but I need energy in order to comfort her. I must draw it from somewhere.
Right.
These people are nearest to me, and they were drawing it from her companions.
They have a
which
surplus.
made them feel cold.
Right.
But that energy and warmth was transferred to Camilla because that spirit used it toward her.
Yes, like a Robin Hood.
Yeah, yes.
Of good vibes.
Yes.
You know, they had a surplus.
Yeah.
Camilla had a deficit.
Right.
Take a little from them and boom.
Yeah.
Listen, I've never heard anything quite like that.
I love
before.
that.
I love it. I think there's something that's very kind of like poetic about that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, for that energy to be in a saloon.
Yeah.
Like you think of like a saloon as a place where people are either like going to like drown their sorrows or something, find something that the place is not really going to provide them.
Right.
I love that.
Totally.
I love that. In many ways, that feels like some sort of like a classic ghost story. Mm-hmm. That's like a classic that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that potential feature of a ghostly encounter. I love it. I love that.
And also just like a little bit of a refining of the idea of it being like a surplus of these people having good vibes and transferring them onto Camilla. I wonder if the good vibes are really the ghost's good vibes, but they were just like, I'm not gonna be able to express them unless I have a power source.
Yeah, I need a battery.
Yeah, and so just use those people as a battery for them to be able to be like, I want to hug you.
Yes. Or maybe, like in ghost stories, like particularly in The Sixth Sense, I feel like it's like if there's a ghost near you, you can see your breath. It's that cold.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe the ghost was literally hugging Camilla, but since it is a couch, the ghost was like lying on the couch to hug Camilla.
Uh-huh.
But its body, therefore, was lying on top of the friends.
Oh, so they're feeling the coldness.
They're feeling the cold of the ghost's body and not the literal embrace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could explain it too.
In fact, I think that's exactly what happened.
I think we've got a lot of good explanations
snuggly
here.
Ghost.
Yeah, the best kind. Okay, this story is from Siera. A few years ago, my sister Natalia wrote in with a story about... Oh, yeah, this is an update.
Oh, great.
Wrote in with a story about a doppelganger apparition my mom saw when we lived in Prague. She promised to follow up, and I'm finally writing to let you know about an experience I had.
It was like a blast from the past.
Yeah. This happened when I was a bit older, about 8, a few years after we'd moved back to Canada and away from the weird haunted house in Czechia. The place we lived in at the time was in a suburban-style residential neighborhood with a good-sized backyard that backed onto a small wooded area. When I was a kid, I thought the woods were splendidly magical. A place to build lean-to forts, commune with fairies, brew magic potions, study the complex social structures of and colonies, probably of the fairies.
We really have found our people.
I know, seriously.
This is the same stuff that we were doing in our woods.
Oh, absolutely. And establish kingdoms in which my sister and I would jointly rule. Except I would rule, and you were a peon in my kingdom.
I know. I was a serf.
You know, typical kid stuff.
In my greatest fantasies, I was still being like stepped on, trod over. Get back to work, you.
Yeah. Looking back, the woods was just a tiny copse of trees nestled between several property lines, but it was still a pretty sweet place to grow up. One day, I was hanging out alone on the small circle of boulders that my sister and I decided was our throne room when I heard a strange sound that really freaked me out. I remember it being a loud screech-like sound, but it could have been anything from a bird to a neighbor kid playing in their yard. Either way, I decided it was high time to get back home since I wasn't really supposed to be beyond the fence by myself anyway. The distance between the throne room and my backyard wasn't very long, probably a 90-second walk tops. I was already freaked out by the noise, so I was walking pretty fast, but a bit of movement just off the path caught my eye and I turned to see what it was. Standing amongst the trees about 6 feet away was, well, another me.
Oh.
She was wearing my exact outfit. I remember I had on a pink skirt, had my face, my eyes. The only difference was the fact that she had straight hair and mine was curly. I only managed to look at her for a few seconds before she turned and walked away. After a moment, once the shock wore off, I started trying to follow her. She was further away by then, and I was too scared to call out to her, but I followed her anyway. I was just too damn curious not to. Then she made a sudden sharp turn to walk behind a larger tree and just disappeared. I went to the tree I'd seen her duck behind, and there was nobody there. Needless to say, I was absolutely freaked. I ran home as fast as I could and told my parents about it. Luckily, they totally believed me since they'd seen that weird doppelganger of my sister a few years earlier, but told me not to go into the woods alone again and that there were just some things we can't explain. That didn't make me feel better, and I had trouble sleeping for several weeks after. As scared as I was at the time, now I'm kind of glad it happened because it makes for a cool story.
Yeah.
I just wish someone else had been there to see it too. Well, an awesome thing is that your sister experienced something like it.
Sure.
So while she didn't see it, you do have a similar occurrence in your family. So at least somebody can be like, hey, I mean, me too.
Yeah.
This is also probably how interesting that this happened twice in your family.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is any sort of like genetic aspect to doppelganger stories. I wonder if there are like higher occurrences within families or anything like that.
Well, back to the omen theory of a doppelganger that we talked about before.
Yeah.
I might be completely wrong, but I feel like we've discussed the story of banshees in the past where it has been familial. Like you will see a banshee if you are the descendant of or family member of. Like you can basically be like, I've got a banshee in the family.
Yes.
And banshees are an omen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So maybe doppelgangers, what if it is a similar wavelength? It's like
maybe omens are familial.
You're right.
And then there are different types of things under the category of omen.
Yeah.
Banshees are one, doppelgangers are another.
We should look just at omens.
Yeah.
That's a topic.
Yeah.
Right? I wonder because the idea of like the spirit world or the creature world, the fantastic world.
Right.
Trying to alert you to something is very maternal, paternal, parental.
Yeah, it's
looking
like
out for
caregiving.
You. Even if I'm scary, it's because I'm trying to look out for you.
Right.
So like, maybe there was something of a bloodline thing here in family.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I understand that vibe of being like, I just wish somebody else had seen it too, because it would validate that you weren't imagining things or whatever.
Totally.
But to be in a family that has experienced similar events, that's about as close as you can get.
Yes.
To having somebody with you at the time.
Yes, absolutely.
It feels like you're part of a clique of people that are all like, no, yeah, we totally believe you.
Yeah, definitely.
We're not going to second guess it whatsoever. Fascinating.
Although in these 2 doppelganger stories that we had today, they don't seem to be omens. You know what I mean? They seem to have just happened. Like we're talking about them because they are, sometimes omens, but not in these instances. So what the hell is going on?
Well, I also wanted to ask you.
Maybe it's just a strange phenomenon that happens sometimes.
What is a changeling?
I don't know. I think there are like a few different definitions for what a changeling can be. Like I think that sometimes it's like some sort of, like elf has stolen your baby and they replace it with something. Boom. And that's a changeling.
All right. What if seeing your own doppelganger in those woods is like, I'm doppelganger.
Yeah, I am your changeling.
I'm your changeling. I'm here to replace you.
Yeah.
Come with me deeper into the woods. I'll dispatch you and take your place.
Yeah.
That's by and large what happens in Evil Dead 2013. Right. Mia goes into those woods and sees essentially herself. And by the time she comes back to the house, she's been possessed. Right. Like what if you avoided a possession happening in those woods? Yeah. Something was turning into you. Yeah. In those woods, but you turned around and hightailed it back home, so nothing happened.
It was going to have to get a perm. They had straight hair and she had curly hair.
There you go. Yeah. So it didn't do it quite right.
Their parents were gonna notice.
It didn't do it quite right.
Yeah.
That I feel like is also a trope.
That's a cool and scary idea.
Also a trope of these kinds of stories is like something is trying to mimic somebody, but gets a couple details wrong in some way. Right. Almost as if somehow that...
Maybe they can't get all the details right.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Like there's always going to be something that would give them away. They can't...
It's just the nature of being a changeling.
Right. There's going to be one thing that somebody could pick up on. Right. But like, what's it going to be though? You know what I mean? Like if one of us was replaced by a changeling, yeah, I would completely buy into like, it'd be like, your hair is different. Like, yeah, I made my hair look different now. Right. Like, okay.
Well, my hair's different now.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. All right, I accept that you're you.
I think I could
That's what I say to you every time I see you. Are you? I accept that you're you.
Well, remember, I mean, I spoiled all of this when we did the Pretty Little Liars episode. So spoilers for the series finale of Pretty Little Liars. Yeah. Remember that Spencer had an evil twin who popped up at the very end? Yes. And there was a girl who clocked that that it wasn't Spencer because she smelled different.
Is that why?
Well, I think she could also tell she was acting a little bit different, but she was like talking to her. It was a blind girl. She was talking to her, and then she called up her what is it, stepbrother, who was Spencer's ex-boyfriend. She said, "Toby, I think Spencer isn't Spencer." And you're like, what? Because they talked for 1 minute.
How could you possibly pick that
So it's like, was it smell? Oh, yeah, because she had said, did you get a new perfume? Yeah, so then it seemed like she just smelled her.
You smell like shit. Couldn't be you.
Right.
It has to be somebody different. Spencer always smells terrible. Yeah. This person smells great.
This one smells good.
I like the new one.
Right.
Can
we keep the new one?
Can we make sure we don't save the real Spencer? Wonderful stories.
I think I could clock a changeling you.
Why?
I don't know. But that's why I thought of the Pretty Little Liars thing, because I was thinking, well, why would that even occur to me that there would be a changeling you? But then I thought, well, Jenna knew that there was a changeling Spencer.
You'd be in so much danger. You'd be in so much danger. If you were like, you've been changelinged and you start to do the investigative sort of like, I'm going to figure out that you're not really you. What have you done with my sister? Right. Well, then it's like, you're basically talking to a murderer.
I would have
and saying I'm on your trail.
No, I'd go behind their back. Obviously, I wouldn't let changeling you know that I'm on to changeling you.
But how are you going to fight a changeling?
I don't know yet.
You're just going to let the changeling raise these kids?
No, I won't. I'll figure something out. Don't you worry.
Don't ruin the holidays.
Don't you worry. I won't.
Yeah, Will's been replaced by a changeling.
You rule the roost.
Get away with it.
It won't happen. No, I'll get you back because you're probably buried at the base of a tree somewhere. So I got to get you out.
That sounds like where I belong. That sounds fine.
Nah, it's not.
What, are you going to bring me to consecrated ground or something? I don't belong there.
No, I mean alive. You are.
Oh, I'm alive?
Yeah.
Buried at the base of a tree?
Yeah, they've just stuffed you somewhere in my scenario.
Oh, I assumed I was dead.
No.
As I often do.
Not in this scenario.
And now in this hypothetical, am I alive or dead? I assume dead, right? No, it's what if we go to the mall this weekend?
No, in this scenario, they've just stashed you for some reason. But I got to bring you back.
Where was Spencer being kept? She was like in a Supermax prison underground, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll assume that. I'm being kept in a jail cell underground that has key card accesses.
I got to get you back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She have a bathroom
I'll do
in there?
Can only assume. She wasn't in there for very long at all. They caught on to it extremely quickly.
Got her that fast?
It was so weird.
They got her before bathroom was a worry.
Maybe. I mean, they didn't show us her bathroom break, but it honestly feels like the answer is yes.
Wasn't there also
Oh, no, there wasn't overnight, so no.
Wasn't there also an entire house underground?
Yeah.
Now that sounds awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe we can.
It honestly didn't seem that bad.
What if we all get replaced by changelings?
Mm-hmm. And we all get to live underground.
Yeah.
In like a weird nuclear war bunker. Yeah, I could do that.
What if we just covered this house in dirt? Technically make it be underground.
But Ryan, Mom, and everybody come. Yeah, sure.
Everyone comes to live here.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll start working on that now.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your stories, everybody. We still have a handful more, so keep them coming.
Yep.
If you've got a doozy out there.
Bring on the dues.
Bring the dues.
The kadoosh.
Share the news. Skadoos. Send us your doozies. Can we now? I feel so comfortable using it as a shorthand, but no one
doozies?
outside of this context would understand that a doozy is a weird experience. Send your doozies to GTTU
doozies.
What'd you say to me?
GTTUzy doozies.
Hate it.
That's what listener stories are over here.
Hate it. You've perfectly undone it. GTTUzy doozies. Nope. In the trash. Incinerated.
No.
Destroyed.
You liked it.
I hated it.
God damn it.
Send your stories to gttupod@gmail.com.
Look, everybody knows what they're called now.
No.
It's too late.
Nope.
You can't undo it.
It ain't. I'm never saying that ever again.
Send us your doozies.
Okay. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Patreon.com/GTTUpod. We have so much fun over there. The party continues. Follow us online at GTTUpod on all social media. Follow us. Go to our YouTube as well. YouTube.com/GTTUpod. A little used resource, the YouTube, but you can look at our faces and stuff. What's wrong with that?
I'm wearing a sweater today. Nobody even knows that if you don't go to YouTube.
No one knows. It's a mystery. People are wondering. They can picture our floating heads, but they can't figure out what to do with the bodies.
Totally. What color's the sweater?
Yeah.
William and I are actually wearing the same color palette today.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah, it is.
You can always predict what my color palette is.
Yeah.
You could dress like me every day if you want.
You don't usually have a certain accent color in it.
That's true. My skin. It's a shock of white. You know, they say like babies like sharp contrast, like black and white, whatever. I think my face.
Yes.
Just like pale and then dark beard and hair.
Same, except for the beard and hair. But
Jack is always looking at me like, yeah. I look like a big cartoon.
No, same.
All right. Also follow us online.
Mm-hmm. I'm at Chillin' Kristen.
I'm at The Myth Traveler. So, hey, this is the last guide to the unknown of 2024.
Yes.
We'll see you next week when it's a new year. Mm-hmm. Kick off the year right somehow.
Yeah.
But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld go we.
And yeah, truly, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy that ball dropping.
Yeah, truly, we're not kidding.
The GAC tower exploding, whatever the hell it is they do these days. I don't know. I'll never know.
No. I wonder if they do anything on Nickelodeon.
They don't do shit.